Just over your left shoulder.
What's that, Stacy?
Just over your left shoulder. It's where everything
That's where
is.
everything always is. Anyway, so this will kind of start. I think we can collectively choose which one we want to do. But this theme of she loved spending time down by the pond. There's no other way to describe it, because the ducks, this geese, and the water and the banks, and the reflections in the water, all of those, are themes. And so she brings her watercolors on this occasion. She brings her pencils on another occasion. And yeah, so just because I was talking about it before we were recording, the relationship between these three birds being a light swan up against a dark background, I would say in the highest contrast. It's the largest. It's got the highest density blue. And then there's the companion to the swan, which is actually a dark swan on a light ground, which would have taken a little bit of, I can't tell if, this is raw paper. So the white of the raw paper is what allows the light of the swan to actually show through. So she's not applying the white paint. Whereas when we look at the oil painting, she does apply white paint. There's this other, either young swan or another type of duck. But this is in highest contrast, but it's higher up on the rectangle, so it's further away. And it's kind of trailing our main swan. You get these other kind of sidebar ducks. I think do you see the little girl down here? I think there's a little girl in the corner. Don't quote me on that, but it looks like a little dress. All right, now this is another one, which is super beautiful. It's very landscape heavy. So the priorities shift. So depending on the composition, she's focusing on different aspects. And obviously the tree becomes kind of the focus of her attention here, where the tree and the path, the bank that's on this side of the pond, the water, the reflections in the water become kind of the subject here on the left, and is accented by that goose. But look at the I don't know if they show up in the screen, but these yellow high intensity yellow strokes that take up like this huge section of the paper. Really beautiful excuses for brushes and color. As far as drawing goes, she does focus pretty heavily on that tree, building nice enclosures, nice color variations. There's yellow in the tree, there's blue, there's greens, there's neutral warms. She had a nice day. That was a nice, pleasant day. Not really stressed out. All right. Here's this girl in a hat. Now I can't tell if this is the girl that's in the boat. Let me just go back and talk about the piece that I think we're gonna really sink our teeth into. There's two of them. All right, so this is the black and white. This is not the one we're going to be doing, but this is probably her most famous. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's not her most famous. This is Mary Cassatt's version of Bert Morisot. So Bert kind of developed this theme in paintings of the women in the rowboat, kind of a domestic scene on the pond feeding the ducks. And Mary Cassatt came in, and she was an American Impressionist. Morisot was just an Impressionist, and she was part of the original group. So this is the book kind of showing that there's that there were very talented people that were kind of following in this, in the ground that Morisot laid. Okay, so here we go. This is what I did yesterday with the kids. This is the piece that I really want to do on for us for just to discover kind of all of the color variations. Come on, I want it to get in focus. It's not doing it. Does it seem blurry to you? It does, right? Come on. I might have to zoom in and then zoom back out. I mean, this is so good. Yes. All right. So we have our geese. What I did yesterday, which I'll zoom back out to see the whole thing, but we started from the very bottom and we just practiced, making green grass, like showed the green at the base. Then we did the lawn and put the geese in here. Then behind the geese, we put the pond, the bank of the pond. And I think this transition is going to be really nice to see how oil paint goes above and then below. So some of the blue is going to work its way. Some of the reflections work their way into the grass. Some of the sides of the bank of the grass work their way into the water. And we just kept marching back. So we added a tree, we added our rose bushes. Then we went on to the water. And, there's, two boats, from two different perspectives. This is the profile view. There's our girl in the golden hat. And then there's another, it looks like there's oh my gosh, that's so funny. I don't think there is a gentleman in the boat, but do you think that's another person? This could be. I had a quick, a scenario, like this could have been a boy and a girl on a date, and then like the chaperone is in the boat. Like, that'd be so cute. All right, so then we have the rest of the far bank, and then the lawn that's on the far side, and then we have these rows of trees that are heading back. Really spectacular groupings of trees on the far side. I mean, look at the space, look at this beautiful space between the trees. And then we have, of course, the sky, which I also don't want to skimp on. I mean, there's some really beautiful layering of these clouds heading back into space as well. Okay, so this is kind of painting number one that I am particularly fond of. And as I was drawing it, I'm just like, gosh, how can it be so easy? But again, it's not easy. She just makes it look easy because it's so accessible. The colors are so beautiful, so clean. The composition is, it's like this idea of like giving the people what they want. You know what I mean? Like, give us the beautiful spring day, give us the white geese and the flowers and the reflections in the water and, the golden brown hair and the yellow straw hat. There's that famous Manet painting where there's the girl that's like on the staircase. She's also wearing a straw hat. And she's like kind of coming down the path. Do you remember that painting? We don't have time to go through all of these, I don't think, but this painting is also just an epic display of mark making and color. Yeah, she was just a genius. She was so great.
I found out that she was married to Manet's brother.
Yes. Yep. And she died pretty young. I think the only thing separating her from, like Monet and those guys is just she didn't live long. She didn't make it to the end. I mean, she made it to the end, of course, but not the. She didn't have that 40 extra years of painting to watch, to like fully mature. Yeah, I think unfortunately the way they did this book, they spread them out. All right, here's my other, this is not obligatory, but this is here's it's annoying because I'm trying to string together a theme of where, you know, this subject that she studied, and they spaced them all out throughout the book. But these are some nice geese. Is this for? I wonder what that shape. It looks like a fan, doesn't it? Or maybe above an archway on a door. I don't know where that would. It's 18 inches. Do you think it's that? Do you think this was a fan? Like a painting that would have been like turned into a, you know, an actual, maybe a fan design. I don't know. Those are nice geese though. Nice reflections, nice ducks. There's a self-portrait. There's a pretty distressing self-portrait. Let's look at the portrait where she looks pretty. That's her, and I assume that's her daughter, Julie. This is kind of neat too. So see how all of the orange, that is what's called the ground. So there's the canvas, which is cotton, and then you can prep the canvas with gesso, and that's usually white paint. And then on top of that, and the reason you put the gesso down is so that the oil paint doesn't go directly on the linen or the cotton. There has to be that buffer. And then after the gesso layer, then you typically stain or color the gesso layer. This is probably stained, you know, meaning like it's a very thin transparent wash. And that's what the orange is. And then that's what you paint into. So she came in with these dark notes to establish the drawing, probably blue, you know, could even be like an ivory black. So she just came in with the drawing and then started covering the canvas with background. A very quick gesture. You know, these are, you know, these would be considered like oil sketches before, you know, Impressionism, you know, was like fully, you know, established as this being finished. She would probably consider this a sketch. All right, that's her. And then this is in 1885, the same year. This is a pastel. You know, she obviously was getting sick. And that's, yeah, haunting. Also notice, like, you can't see it so much. Let me go closer. I don't know if you can see that. This is green. Like the paper is like a cool versus this high intensity warm. Okay, and then this is the next one. This is the one that we could also do. So this must be her daughter, I assume. It's called By the Lake. And I wonder if she's in the boat. Would it be on the lake or by the lake? Do you think she's in the boat?
Yes.
I mean, I think she is too. Unless there's like a railing or something. But she's seated. This is at such an angle.
And it's convex, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, like the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, she's in the boat. They should change the title. I dropped this down a little bit. You can see that there is a little bit more sky. And then here's another composition. It's called The Goose. How big is that? 64 by 34. So it's essentially a double square. It doesn't show up as well on this camera, but that's a nice painting too. It looks like this could be a well, some of these, this looks like it could be milkweed, but I don't know. Without the colors, it's hard to say.
Trevor,
Yes, Dave.
do you know if, is there any text regarding her interest in geese?
Yeah, like, I don't know. I mean, I'm
Okay.
sure there is. So Mauriceau is an artist who she's always been super high on the like on my favorites with color and really color and mark making. And the way she captures portraits are incredible. But at the same time, as much as I like love her work, I haven't like delved in and read her letters. You know, like I haven't read her like art criticism, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So I don't know her intimately as a person. Um, yeah, I don't know, and it's funny. I wonder why, and I don't know. Maybe it's because she's a mom, and I feel like it's hard to relate to like mom artists. She was, I don't know. You can just
Well, she
handle, like,
certainly has a love of nature.
she really does.
Yeah.
So this is her husband and her daughter. Look at that. That's Manet's brother, Eugene. I also like these little, she makes these little like nooks, like these little environmental, do you see that, like that oval that exists within the composition? Like she's like inside like a cove, like a natural, there's like a little stool there, a little opening in the woods. The light is just spectacular. These like summer days. I mean, these bright summer days. The color is just incredible. Look at that red note right in the middle. I wonder what that is. Oh, it's her boat. That's her toy boat. Where's that other? So here's the this girl,
Oh.
a watercolor with her boat. You see with her toy boat there, and then let me. You just gotta see it close up. You can. There's the little toy boat. But that red note makes it. It makes everything. All right, should we start drawing? Should we watch that? Or should we watch that little video? I feel like if we watch that video, we'll never draw. I think we should start drawing. Okay, yeah, so we don't have to worry about anything today because unlike portraits, the range of dither is pretty high. Yes. So what would be the way to do this? I'm trying to think. Could I squeeze? I might be able to squeeze this on. All right. This could get very interesting.
Trevor, are you drawing and I just can't see it?
No, I
Oh,
haven't started drawing yet.
okay.
I was
Okay,
trying,
good.
I think I'm going to try to, I'm trying to figure out how I can present the content where I can get the whole, but then we can zoom in and do details as well. I think I'm just gonna have to fold the paper a lot. Yeah, I think we're gonna start off with this, the idea of really, I guess the idea that we're making a coloring book. So we have to sketch the whole. You have to see everything in that context, but then relatively quickly, I want to get in there and see our geese.
Good boy. Come. Oh, excuse me.
I guess I'll start with some gray. Oh my gosh, this is so scary. I put this down, so that should stay. I'm gonna get another one, so that stays down. Okay, that's good. Almost. So scary, people.
And that's supposed to encourage us?
I don't know. I mean, no, I'm not here to encourage anybody. We gotta solve some problems here. It's actually nice. There's the more I'm looking at it, the more very manageable it is. And when I shouldn't start off with such anxiety, because we jumped into the kid. Let me show you what the girls did yesterday. I mean, when I'm talking about the kids, I mean, like, this is like the youngest group that I teach. And I mean, not in like a out of control way, but like yesterday's class was like an insane asylum. But look at what these girls came up with. I'll show you a couple different versions. And I gave them the option whether they could hold the picture up vertical or horizontal, and some chose one, some chose the other. So just to like break it down, like there's the foreground, which is the grass, and then you have this beautiful gestural separation between the lawn and the water, and then you do a little bit of the water, and then you get the banks that are on the other side, and then she got the banks on the other side, and then obviously in the water there could be the geese, the boat, there's the flowers in this corner, the tree on this corner, and then the kitty cat. That was an afterthought. She put that in because this girl Aubrey is like obsessed with her cat. So she just, as soon as she finishes the lesson, she starts drawing her cat. Anyway, so there's the far side of the banks, and then this row of trees, and then you have the sky and the clouds. So the whole rectangle is kind of occupied, and you kind of like march back into space. I mean, those are the principal elements. So I've even like looking at it from here, having seen like the filter through like the child, a child that was given a really good introduction. Here's this one. You have the geese on the lawn, the grass running horizontal, the bush on the right, the tree on the left, the water with the boat, the far side bank, the row of trees, and then the distant sky. And there's so much sky in these kids' drawings because they basically had a lot of extra real estate. Even if you look at the rectangle, it's a taller, the paper that I handed out was much taller. Ours is a little bit squatter. So imagine if we had like an extra 2 inches or 3 inches above this, we'd have more sky. So those are like these principal elements, which I think is going to be really fun to like block in right now, like on that like kind of play, that child level. We have the S curve that separates the water from the shoreline on our side. And then there's this horizontal, which is the separation between the water and the banks on the far side. So we're basically building our stage set with which to put in our players. I can even switch pencils and, hold on, I'm gonna mute myself for 1 second. Yeah, and Grace, if you do wind up getting one of these sets of the Prismacolors or the Kandahar or whatever, Kandahar, they get an electric pencil sharpener to go along with it. Best investment ever. All right, so we get the banks, and now we have basically where the forest becomes so dense that the lawn on the banks on the far side are kind of no longer visible. And when I was talking in the beginning about the dither, dither is like where the margin of deviation, deviation from the example, still works. And, when kids drawings, the goose is almost, the proportions are almost grotesque, but still work. I mean, you could still tell what's water. You can still see, it doesn't matter whether the lawn on the far side is 1 inch or whether it's 2 inches. That there is a lot of flexibility there. Okay, cool. That looks good. I wonder if Maurice, she's so interesting because yeah, let me like establish the bottom of my picture. Oh God, did I? That is the bottom. The bottom is the bottom. That's nice. So I'm going to put the bottom for my own picture. That's nice that they're the same. All right, so we have our lawn, we have our water, we have the far banks, and then we have our trees. And each realm has its own kind of stars, like stars of the show. And that's not the right way. This is the right way. So good God, yeah. I was cutting off a lot of the tree up here. Okay, so let's do the let's say the stars of the the stars of the grass that are closest to us are the geese, for sure. Now I think we should kind of think about the grass and see if we can devise some kind of intelligible division of space. So I'm going to start first with I'm going to attempt to place my the goose. And the goose, I started with an oval, and then I added a triangle for the tail. And then I added this little, like, I called it a rainbow, but it's this curving arch of the neck. And then I did a circle for the head. So however these proportions play out, again, is not particularly high consequence. You can make your goose way too big, you can make it too small, whatever. I think it's going to be fine. Bert gives us a wonderful, almost cliche red orange for the beak. And then the angle of the feet, she gives us a little bit of dimension. So if you imagine you link up from foot to foot in this grass, it is at a relatively steep angle. So we do get a suggestion of the third dimension from our goose. And, what is a goose? What is a bird without its wings? So we can add a wing on there. The underside of the goose is going to be in shadow. The top is going to be white. And in the very, very beginning, this is where I brought up that watercolor, where the watercolor has the lightest parts of the paper you have to defend. And even in oil painting, I guess my point is that when she was painting the swan in the watercolor, she painted the background to make it pop out. Even in oil painting, you are still, making, even if you're adding white paint, you still make that white paint pop out by shading and coloring the area around your subject. So, this goose really can't be put in context until it has some sort of background. So I think, to almost honor the goose and to kind of get us into the mood of the grass, and let's not just go willy-nilly. So which I just did. I mean, I was like, oh, it's green, I'm going to add green. And then as I started kind of wrapping around the goose, I could kind of see that she has brush strokes that are very distinct. And I think if we can find a system for her brush strokes, I think we will be very, very well served in terms of understanding what she's trying to communicate, and then also understanding why it's so beautiful, why this painting is so good. And it's the organization, it's the color, it's the subject matter, but it's not on accident that people find these pictures beautiful. So we'll see if we can crack the code, if not for all of the picture, at least for particular zones of the picture. There's a series of vertical strokes that seem to echo the direction of the geese, which also, so it supports the geese in terms of relates the geese to the grass. It also shows that there's, grass that grows, from the ground up. It hits this corner in the background and it flattens out. So we're giving us sort of a flat plane, that it is in fact a ground plane. And that happens in front of the goose as well. There's strokes that immediately echo the angle of the neck, which is hilarious. And then there's other strokes that echo the angle of the nape of the neck, and then the angle of the shoulders. So hopefully you can see, like, if you go around shading this background, it's almost like the bird itself is reverberating. So it's almost like it had, like, the vectors that were required to design the bird are having an immediate relative connection to what's behind it, what is in the environment. So she's allowing the goose to lead her brushstrokes, and that is, that's really significant. Most people just would paint the goose and then paint what's around the goose and not have a formal connection. And then, of course, those lines just can't keep going into nowhere. They have to be integrated into a sense of the ground. So there's a little concave trough of grass that seems to lead up to our collection of, lead up to the rose bush or the flowers, and then also our row of geese that seem to be very interested in looking at what's going on in the water. And those geese can, you can follow the cue. You can follow the lead of the goose where it shows us, but you can't help but, at least for me, I look at this picture and the first thing I see is the goose in the lawn. And so the goose is not only in the, it's not only the goose, but it's also those echoing reverberations around the goose that call a lot of attention. You can see his eye. I hadn't put that in there, but there is an eye, and it is a very idealized notion of this goose, and it is the star of the show. So the supporting cast, which is going to help bring us into the the next phase, the geese, the row of geese, link us up to what's going on in the water. So I'm going to follow this path. And, earlier I was, in the beginning of class, I don't even know if it was on this recording, but I was mentioning how I have these, these tritone color pencils. So I have each stroke in theory has 3 different greens in it, or 3 different blues, a light, a medium, and a dark, and it just makes for more dynamic strokes. I'm trying, the nice thing about it is that you can't really control those things. Like, I could kind of continually turn the tip of my pencil to like bring in more colors, but I'm not thinking about that. It's almost like that's almost like on autopilot. And I'll just let it do its thing, and hopefully at the end it's more beautiful than it would have been if I had basic pencils. Okay, so we come up, and then I'm going to look for my next oval, and we'll be able to play this game around. I just want to get the relationship between the goose and the the elements in this picture. There's a lot of, whether my goose is positioned properly, all of this grass that's at the bottom, which will be fun to get into in terms of color and mark making and aggressiveness and looseness. Those are relatively less consequential in terms of their proportions. So I'm not necessarily worrying about them right now. All right, we've got our goose. I did the oval. We did a triangle for the tail. Looks like there's some like fluffiness to that tail. And then we'll build the trapezoid, the very like a classic trapezoid of that neck, narrowing into the oval of the head. And we've got our beak. There's a thing called running your verticals, which is if you're trying to relate objects in your picture, how close is the head of the bird I just drew to the original beak? Well, it can be a helpful guide. So it's not over the head, but perhaps my beak needed to be a little bit bigger. Who cares? Like I said, we have a lot of flexibility here. So back to that idea of reverberating geese, the background, I'm introducing this, I'm shading the geese because I'm working on white paper. We are working on white paper. So how do we get the goose to feel white? Well, we have to shade the space around it so that the weight of the paper is allowed to show. And so we're making the goose white, not by adding white pencil, but by adding the darks around it. And that's pretty. This is an interesting color. More gray. A lot of red in there. I think there was is this a blender? It comes with a blender. It says blender right on there. I don't know what material that is. Maybe it's just pure wax. Something to blend those colors out. I don't know why, and I told this to class yesterday, I don't know why our goose does not have orange feet.
Yeah, it has white feet.
Yeah, which is a little bizarre. There is this like wonderful blue shadow. It's like she was painting the area around the neck, and then she was like, I'll give it a little blue shadow, and maybe that green and the blue will, mix together So there's a connection between the above the goose and below the goose with that blue note. And out of the neck of this goose is where our, as we shade these, you can see the bank, so I'm kind of, for the first time, confidently establishing the position of the bank of the pond. And this could be, I have these, this is kind of like there's like a really beautiful soft blue green, and that's what I don't know what this color is. The color close counts with horseshoes, hand grenades, and colors. So don't panic. Green is good. You can add some blues, you can add some yellows. It can be very flexible.
Are you smudging as you go along?
I'm not smudging at all.
Not smudging at all.
If it was a pastel, I'd like to smudge. It was oil. The thing about Morso, she does blend, but then she comes on top with decisive strokes, unblended marks. It's this relationship between the smooth versus the crisp, and it's kind of an infinite combination, like an eternal process. Strokes, let them just ride, let them stay there, and then second guess it, blend them out, put another round of strokes. It's hard to get total coverage with just decisive brush strokes. Like when you make a single brush stroke, you plop it down and it lays there. You'd have to build up a solid wall of mosaics. Whereas you put a stroke, you blend it, and then you put 2 or 3 mosaics, and it does the same thing. So I think it's an efficiency thing as well. Wow, am I having a? That was wild. I was seeing this is big. Look it up here. This is very ephemeral. Do you see that?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. I mean, I saw it as an angel for a second. You see, how there's like this floating figure above the water, and there's an arm reaching down. Wow. I mean,
I wonder if she's trying for the reflection of the clouds.
I think she is.
Yeah.
But I caught an angel for a second. I mean, it's not, but I still caught. I mean, it's weird. I look at the painting and down here, and I see the boat, and I see the clouds reflecting, and I look up the screen, and I see an angel. It's like I can't shake. I can see it now on the paper.
And there's almost a goose, another goose, or
yeah, I think
the water there. Yeah, right there. That she maybe
so
started with and then changed her mind.
And it almost looks like, on at least my cell phone picture, that there might be another boat with someone in the boat and an oar.
Oh yeah, definitely. So that there's a blue boat, and then a person sitting in it with a big hat, and then an oar on both sides.
Oh, okay, that's what I see. Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah. But also weird. You know what I mean? Like, it's also it feels like it's kind of floating above this boat. And I wonder, yeah. And these are the things, like, I think that you have to have a mentality that you're just going to work, and how it turns out is you accept it and not second guess, because I mean, there's no other explanation for how these things, like how you could, like, there's so many times where it's like, how could you live with that? And then you're just like, I'm done. You know what I mean? Like she just did it and it was semi-successful. And like if she thought about what it would require to actually repaint the whole thing or that section, she's like, no, it's fine. It's weird, but it's good, but I'm sticking to it. Okay, so as far as coloring books go, I actually feel kind of this is a lot of info, you know, a lot of detail for, you know, having so little mapped out. So I think I might just try to map out my second goose. Oval, trapezoid, tail, circle for the head, beak. And then the third goose is just it must be like completely moving.
It's an
All
impression.
smudged out. Yeah, and I think that was part of what they were able to get away with. You know, I think the case for the Impressionists are like, well, and for every painter actually, you know, throughout history, it's like you offer a well-refined version, and then, you know, as they get further away, you know, they get simpler, not simpler, but more economical, and you fill in. And part of the fun of being, you know, being the artist is, you know, allowing the viewer to fill in the rest of the picture. You know, once you've bought it, once you buy in to the goose, you don't need to know. You don't need to have the eye. You don't need to have the orange. You know, like you fill that in, and it's looks completely complete, and you feel like you're even there. Yeah, I feel like I'm here. That's what I think. That's what I love about this painting is I feel like I'm here. I want to be there. That's the other cool thing. Yeah, I was being a little obnoxious here. Where I did like a harsh silhouette around the goose, and that may have been too much. The water really quickly, you know, the water has these, you know, these vectors that support the direction of the goose's necks, but they do go pretty quickly back into the horizontal striations, so that the leveling out, the nature of water is a plane, and it's a perfectly flat plane. Yes, there may be ripples, there may be disruptions to the surface, but, you know, overall, you know, if you look at all of her paint strokes for the water, all of the reflections, everything that's in there, they're all horizontal. What will we do here? So the third goose overlaps this prism of flowers. So there's a separation between the grass and the shrubs, and it's an S curve. And our dark greens, we have the side of the bush. And these, and I probably, I don't think it's a mistake in color pencils, but, you know, the placement of the flowers, those were absolutely the last thing that went in on top of this floral bush here. So got this nice cluster of yellow greens that frame out the third goose. So they silhouette edge that goose. And then we're transitioning into more of a blue-green. And I have my Prismacolors, so I don't mean to, I feel bad for my Prismacolors. I sang their praises for so long, and I'm not discounting them. I have such beautiful colors in here. But I don't know if, I mean, hopefully you remember in those classes, I would have two or three pencils in my hand at once.
Yeah. That's what I'm doing.
So with my Prismacolors, that's what I've got two now. I've got my Prussian green and my dark green at the same time. So I'm sure they got tritones. I'm sure they had bitones, and then they came to tritones. That's wonderful. Let's see how my let's see if the blending one works with the Prismacolors. It does. I've never heard of a blending color pencil.
So do you have to clean it off between colors, or you just?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I think if you wanted to be really precise about it, perhaps. Oh my goodness, my sister Mal's here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, hopefully she's, I let her in. I don't know if she's actually here.
Hi, Mallory.
Mal.
Hey, oh my God, this is beautiful.
Hi, Mallory.
Mal, this is right up your alley.
Oh, it really is.
So we're just having fun today.
Lots of fun.
We're not.
Don't we have?
We're trying to save the world one peaceful picture at a time.
Oh, good to me.
Oh,
Mal, let me show you. I got to send you. In the beginning of the class, I taught this to my younger kids. I got to send you some of their versions to boost your confidence. Okay, so Mal, the main theme that we've got going on is that we have the lawn that's in the foreground as one kind of stage set, and then and it's separated by this beautiful S curve, or this almost like an arc. So there's this like curving transition between the lawn and the water. Then there's a horizontal separation between the pond and the banks and the lawn that's on the foreground. And then there's this row of trees, and then there's the sky. So what I was saying is that in each one of these zones, there's kind of a star of the show. And in the lawn, there's the goose and then his supporting cast. And on that stage, there you have our tree, and then you have the bushes, the flower bushes, and then this sort of turbulent grass. We haven't really even talked about the grass, but if you break the grass down in terms of a diagonal, there's this triangle of rough grass down here, and then from this goose up until you get to the flower bushes, there's kind of this like smooth grass, that lawn almost, and then there's this little trough, this little path that kind of visually brings you from this goose up to the supporting cast. And that's really where we are. I mean, we haven't done much else.
Okay.
We drew the goose, and then we walked this little path up. What's that?
I said, don't do everything for me. Like, continue with.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, it's nice to have like a kind of a mid,
Like a recap.
a mid conversation recap.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Yeah, good. So I'll just do this really quick for you, and this is the only thing I'll do for you. oh wait, where was it? The goose. We started with the oval for the goose, and then this one we added a triangle for the tail, and then this kind of like arching neck into a circle for the head, and then of course you have the triangle of the beak, and then you have a big leg, and then you have a small leg,
Yeah.
and then from there there's a little wing. You can put a wing on there, put a little eye, and then so all the other geese are just like variations on those component parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only like 7 things.
Yeah. Perfect.
But it's also one of the most fun things to draw in your life. Well, in my life at least. Okay, so so the seduction of the painting is to want to get into is to go from these geese, and you like because we've gotten the main goose, then we got to the second goose, and then these geese are leading us up to the boat, and we've got this beautiful boat, and then we have this girl who's rowing in the boat. But I think I'm going to resist the temptation to go further. I want to like kind of solidify my bottom, you could argue the bottom third. Yeah, if you broke it into thirds, there's the distant landscape, which is a whole different set of criteria actually, which is all more very classical. Then you have the water and the whole dynamic that's going on between the boats and the reflections. So it's kind of like this water element. So you have the sky, which is like air. Then you have the water, and then you have the land. So you have these various elements, and it really is broken into thirds. So I think we'll have time to do all of that stuff. But I feel like the players being anchored in the ground plane. I'm just gonna play. I'm gonna enjoy the grass realm and put that stuff in. And this tree is so interesting because the tree is what links up every space. Actually, if you look at that, the tree brings it all together. Great. It's really going to be one of the most important parts of the water realm in terms of that middle section. A huge percentage of it, even though it belongs to the foreground, it really is taking place in the water realm. Okay, so that's our last little element here. My goose is huge, so I need to get my tree in position. It looks like there's those 3 trunk elements, and then I'm going to use a semicircle. Oh, that's nice. Okay, cool. So the bottom of the tree echoes a boat, which makes sense. And then the top of the tree, I'm going to turn into a diamond. So there's a center line that runs through the whole thing. And this diamond is going to be obviously very loosely shaped because I need to express it. Both there's going to be water strokes and tree strokes. I just wanted to get that positioned. So if I did the trunk, I might as well have done the top portion. And I'll kind of know that our little boat needs to end close to that. The boat kind of kisses the tree, the back end of the boat. And these artists, every artist, but one of the things I think that artists look for in each other's work are the transitions. How does one realm transition into another realm? And the goose into the grass was beautiful. The row of geese into the bank, into the water, into the flower, the rose bush. spectacular. Yeah, even like the main our principal goose leading up into the supporting cast of the geese on that vector is fantastic. All right, cool. So other important landmarks, the start of the tree is a big one. And around that, we've got some darker grass. So you have this like, they're not roots per se, but there's grass that's growing up around that base, which is distinctive. And then if we go around there, you know, this whole kind of grassy knoll from the horizontal, you know, the elevation of the tree trunk down to the bottom of the tallest grass. So the grass between the goose and the tree are all linked up. Love that. So this is where you can almost like, you know, it's a coloring project. So you don't want to color the entire thing green, even though the whole thing is green. You may not want to like define, you want to find where these distinct areas occur. All right, so these lines create this bowl shape and, you know, kind of like these radiating tall grass marks. And then behind the tree roots leading up to the bank are more horizontal. It's almost painted. It's painted smooth, first of all, and it's painted side to side, almost similar to the water. And Impressionists are they're so generous in the sense that they let their brush strokes hang out. You know, you can see like how the angles and the way that they're thinking, where, you know, if you were to smooth, you know, you apply the paint and you smooth it out, you know, a lot of those directional elements are lost in different, you know, painting styles. I've got there's this gutter, a gutter passage, the water that's between the bank and the tree. So I'm really the water is all painted with strokes that are side to side. The only variations on that would be this kind of like this violet that's, you know, vertical strokes above the rose bush, which frankly, yeah, I'm not exactly sure. We'll have to think about that. But those you know, the reverberations of the rose bush is painted vertical. The vectors of the blue, which almost like they practically suggest the honking of these geese. I mean, like the water strokes being painted at that angle. I mean, it's almost like they're, you know, they're making goose calls.
Huh.
Anyway, this light passage, this light blue passage really does frame out nicely as a lighter background the deepest dark parts of the tree, as well as some of these rogue, and when I say rogue, they're just detached outcroppings. This is again like when the artist looks at how another artist makes transitions, the earth realm into the water realm. There's like a mezzanine, you know, there's a transitional area, and the strokes, these dark paint strokes are, you know, are totally detached from the earth, but they're, you know, they're plants that are growing from the earth and they're silhouetted by the water, and that helps with the paint transition from the water bank into the grassy bank into the water. And, you know, the painting, the topical, the painting is way more flexible. When I say the painting, I mean oil paint. So you can paint the bank up over the water, and then you can come paint the water back over the bank, and then over again and under again. And there's almost like an endless interaction between what's above and what's below. That's the flexibility of oil paint. And it becomes very pointillist, this transition from the bank into the water. So the grass is very smooth right here, and it's almost like this calm before the excitement of these growths that are really darkened for two reasons. They may be dark objects, but they're also their background is lighter. They are dark object on a light ground. All right, I'm just loving the use of her tree up here from trunks, and I'm not going to keep going into it because I need to maintain discipline. And I think that, look at these branches. The tree is going to be so fun, but I want to do my due diligence and just anchor this bottom part of the picture. I mean, if I can finish the grassy knoll, that's 1/3 of the entire picture. If not 35-40% of the picture. So anyway, so before and the tree really does help. So that's where you start with one object, and then which I started here with the goose, and I angled up and to the right. Then I angled across to the tree, and then I angled up into the bank. Now I'm going to angle down until you get this like very excited grass down here. Bigger strokes, with my pencil, like longer strokes with my pencil. And then there's these yellow notes that are in there. Look at those. Yes. And this is the fun part. So you get to, if you see the color, put it in there. And it's a ratio thing. So there is every color. This is a green lawn, but I promise you, every color that's in every other part of the picture is going to be found in this grass. It's a trick. It's a technique that artists use to get unity within the picture, whether it's blended in so it's imperceptible or whether it's spaced out here in an impressionist style. Look, there's this blue note of the water is right down by my finger at the very bottom of the picture. That is the same blue that's in this water. That would not be there in quote real life, observationally. There's this little patch of tulips. Get out of town. I just noticed this little patch of tulips. I don't know, I'm declaring them tulips because it's spring. Can't wait for the tulips. The tulips have got to start coming out soon. So I'm gonna literally make tulips. I don't think she made them as tulipy as I am right now, but two little patches. My dad he would plant these like batches of tulips in the woods. And so they would come up every spring, and they'd almost look wild because they're just like kind of planted seemingly haphazardly throughout the forest floor. It was always so cool.
Sounds pretty.
It was really pretty. And then I of course had the tulip garden at school for years. And I got those at what's the place on the corner of Falls and Cold Spring? Is it
Greenfield Nursery,
Greenfields? Yeah.
Northern Park.
I got phenomenal tulips from them. Tulip bulbs. So where there's like this kind of like I don't want to call it a disruption, but where there's like a vector variation. She gives us like a soothing of almost like a framework. There's like a calm around the burst. So this whole, do you see this semicircular realm right here? Look at this whole little, it's like a miniature valley. It's like a donut. So it's like it's made up of like the edge of our path. And then in the center of the donut is the tulips. It's so sweet. And then we get some taller grass that is basically frames out the smooth cylindrical wrapping around our tulips. And then there's a couple other, the rough and tumble foreground. And I wonder if she even like was cleaning off her brush down there. I love these aggressive marks down here because everything so far, we've been very calculated and very specific, and there's a lot of excitement down here. Just big. And when you there's another interesting analysis of art when you can almost draw brush strokes. We're not drawing. You can have your picture, and you want your color pencil to represent grass. That is one mode of thinking. Another mode is that you're actually using your color pencil to draw Bert Morisot's brushstrokes. And that's a different thing. Drawing a chunk of dried paint on a surface is different than creating the illusion of grass. And they can both simultaneously exist in the same painting. So you can get into the mood. Let's make this area look like grass. That's one mood. And then the other one would be like, well, let's draw a literal Morisot brushstroke, like right here, this little orange, dark brown note. Not the right brown, but that's okay. Look at that one. Starts thick and it's pulled thin to the right. So I'm drawing Bert's brushstrokes. And if they're in the right context, they should appear to be a tree trunk. It's just another kind of lens. With all of these excessive kind of streaky marks down here, the area around the tree, I think, does need to be smoothed out. And then I am going to wrap this up pretty soon because I want to do the boat. Our hexagonal, the hexagonal tree at the top, we'll block out the geometry of the trees, even though we may not be able to fully color them. It's too olivey. That's a nice green. Oh, interesting. Okay, and I'm only doing my tree right here because I'm desperate to get into the boat. The boat, I think, oh yeah, we gotta draw the boat. And then once we get the boat, then we can do the water. We had to draw the geese in order to do the water next to the geese. And then we have to do the boat so that we can do the water around the boat. So you have to start with the principal dancer, and then everything in the background supports her. One of the ways that you can not become overwhelmed by this tree, I'm gonna lay the tracing paper over it. I'll just do, it doesn't matter, I'll do it on my own. Think of one of those beautiful, maybe somebody can help me out. There's these really beautiful leaves. I don't know what they're called. They look almost like teardrops or heart shapes. I don't know. Anyway, if you think about the tree as a leaf, you have the center stem, you have the silhouette, but then you have the veins that are coming out. So all of the marks are, radiate out from the center, and they can have main ones and then they have supporting ones. So there's a main vein, the center vein, and then there's branches, and the branches have twigs, and then those twigs have sticks. So if you think about it, not like, see this whole thing, this is like a big confusing tree. See it as one leaf that has, a very quantifiable and systematic order to it. So there's the center, and then there's the leaf like this. And then you have branches that run out, which are like veins. And then you have smaller ones that run out from there. And that's the system for, how you're making the marks. And the colors can all shift. Generally it's like the deeper branches would be dark. And I think it's just, they would paint it essentially the same, but it's how you frame it, not necessarily what you're drawing. And if you find trees to be easier than leaves, well then think about it like a tree. All right, party people. So this boat is very interesting. All right, so I'm going to try to find the area where the boat is in contact with the water. So the bottom, because it's interesting because the bottom of the boat, in a sense, isn't defined by itself. The water overlaps it. So there's a part of the boat that's under the water. So by thinking about the bottom of the boat as basically seeing like where the water ends, because the water is in front of it, and then you can see where the boat comes out of the water, and then you can start thinking about what are the different properties of the boat. So there's the very back of the boat, the water ends, and you get the back of the boat, and it has this little notch, just like this little corner. There is the lip of the edge of the boat, which is a wonderful peach color. Now you don't want to be fooled without putting in the oar, and you can think about the whole length of it. Where is that oar overlap the bow? And it's it's a little bit right of center. And again, if your oar doesn't line up with the geese exactly, it doesn't matter. We need everything in the water to we need the girl and the oars and the boat and the hat and the hair, all of the elements of the boat, they need to match each other. 30 seconds later, this whole boat would be in a completely different position relative to the geese if this was in person. all of the elements of the boat would still be relative to each other. So in your picture, high consequences, the girl in the boat and the oars, those need to relate. How that relates to the rest of the picture, is variable and is that's sort of an artistic decision, actually. Like, you can move her if you think she belongs in a different place that would be better. You can move her. Mal, I forgot. I sent you those other pictures, but I didn't send you the actual one, so you can have that on your screen. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. I have to go soon to pick up Maisie.
I just want to make sure you have it.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. It's like the front of the boat is purple. The boat is divided into half. Mhm. Oh, and Stacy's here too. Oh, guys, say a prayer for Stephanie. She actually wound up having her surgery.
Oh,
Today,
yeah.
was that today?
I don't think it was
You know.
today, but it was this week.
Okay, thank you for letting us know.
Mhm.
Trevor, did
Oh.
you just mention my name or did you say Stephanie?
I said Stacy.
Oh, yes.
I don't remember what context.
Stephanie.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Mel.
Kristen was who was in class.
Oh. Got it.
So we have a little trapezoidal form for the woman in the boat. There's the back of her dress and then the side of her dress. I wish I was able to describe that a little bit better. But you could call it a semicircle. And then you have her waist. Most of her head, most of her body is the hair. She's got a lot of hair coming down. I'm building these shapes, up. And then we'll have the brim of the hat. And then we'll have the trapezoidal shape of the top of the hat. And that should be almost invisible until we shade the water around it. And that will be it. So I'm hoping to make this woman pop out.
Trevor, it is 11:28. Do you want to have a show
Yeah.
or no?
Yeah, let me finish this. I'm gonna leave. Oh my gosh, there's a second person over here. I guess I'm gonna leave out all those people. I think she had a whole afterthought. Like all of these, the second guy in the boat, the second boat. I believe that was all an afterthought. So I'm gonna just paint them out in my picture. Excuse me.
I have to go, but so great seeing you ladies.
Can I see
Hi, Mallory.
Hi.
your paint?
Congratulations.
Thank you. Here's mine.
Absolutely.
Wow, cranking it out. All right, yeah, send me a photo of that. That would be wonderful.
All right, see ya.
No.
Hi.
Bye.
She's in and then she's out. Drop-in rate for Mallory is $120. $1,000. Man, this is very nice. So I'm almost using these horizontal strokes as anticipating. I'm trying to frame it out. So I know that there's reflections. I don't want to add too much blue in terms of coverage, because there are a lot of the trees are reflected in the water. And I just need to have my water realm appear generally as water. And then I can come in with all the infinite variations. One, two. So there's a book, actually. I can't remember the author. It's called The Painter's Secret Geometry, and it has a lot to do with large scale figure compositions. But the most basic idea is that underlying these complex, underlying these aspects of a painting, like the tree, for example, there is a geometry that is not necessarily seen by a casual observer. And this piece has a really clear example of that. And I'm gonna put it in here. So I put the little trunk down, and you have the base of this huge tree, and then you have the sides of the tree, and then it hits a corner, and it's going to angle up, and it angles up, and you have essentially a hexagon. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now it's not an equilateral hexagon, but it is a relatively clear geometric notion, and inside of that, you also have like a sub geometry. So there's an internal hexagon, or even internal hexagon. How these, I don't know if you can see this, but and then inside of that, there's even more divisions. Hexagon and a hexagon. Let's see. I don't know. I'll just try to. I'm just shooting spitballing here because I haven't drawn this before. But there's this. It's an inverted trapezoid, and then that's capped off with a. I would maybe it could be, you could call it a triangle. You could maybe call it a trapezoid. Cut the top off. The tree behind that is. Looks like another hexagon. And then I'll switch colors again to a blue. They each have their. Oh, and then is there another smaller triangle in here? I don't know. Maybe there's even another triangle right here. Tree trunk in the middle of this one. The tree trunk in the middle of this one and this one. And there's another one that hangs out down here. All right.
There's a person standing under the trees to the left of the big tree.
This guy?
Yeah.
I think so. I don't know what this triangle is next to him. central. Two legs, a blue torso, and a dark head. I think he's holding something. Looks like he's holding like a.
Like an oar.
Yeah. Such a gorgeous thing.
Okay, wait. Right,
Yeah.
it'll be ready right at 12. Maybe finish it out.
Mm-hmm. So this is. All right, maybe I'm in a. I don't think I'm in a weird place. I'm in a happy place. But maybe we should have a. Do you want to have a little bit of a show where we are?
Sure.
Ugh. Yeah.
Because it's like it's nice. I mean, it's almost like I know what I need to do, but it's still a lot of work. But I think it could be really nice. These trees, I'm telling you, this is her being up here.
This is her being what?
Being epic. Like
Oh,
it's showing her like her deep knowledge of systems, paint systems, natural systems, geometric systems. This is all very fun and like, hey, I'm on the water. And then these trees are, those are just like kind of intellectual achievements. And they're like kind of hidden in the back, which is so cool. I'm wondering if I'm almost like wondering if that tree in the background is the painting. All right, I'm gonna stop. Really, I mean, I'm telling you, the Prism colors are great, but these tritones, whew.
that's so nice that you're really enjoying them.
Because they're so specialized. I imagine there aren't very many applications.
Yeah, it's like it feels it's a little like cheating. Lose one on the ground. Let's stop the share. Stacy, you want to go first?
No, but I will.
You
Yeah.
asked for it.
Okay. So, so I must say, like, I mapped everything out. And then I didn't do my my curve from land to water. So oh well. And I didn't finish, but
Oh, wow. So you added on to what you did last time. Wow, those are great.
Oh, beautiful.
Your geese are wonderful.
oh, thank you. I loved doing those.
Are those watercolors?
No, they're
The color pencils?
pencils that I need to go get pencils because I'm really limited in colors and I keep breaking the tips. They're really
Brittle.
yeah, and
Yeah.
yes,
What kind of pencils are they, Stace? Can I see them?
of course. They are Artist Loft.
Oh yeah.
Is that like yeah,
It's like a student grade color pencil.
Yeah. yeah.
Okay. That's all right. But still, I mean, with that I feel like you just have to work smaller when you have that. And it's just a little, it's narrower, but in terms of what your flexibility in terms of application,
Right.
but it's still, you can still get something that looks green. You deserve some, Stace.
Thank you, Trevor.
Mhm. All right. I think I did Adele next. Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to bring my computer closer.
Oh,
Nice.
that's lovely.
Like
See that?
watercolor.
Yeah.
Yes. Can you bring that just the tiniest bit and freeze? You're a little lopsided. There you go.
Did you do watercolors too up in the corner?
No, I'm just putting the first layer of pencil down, color pencil
Yeah,
down.
that's lovely. Really lovely.
Yeah, and the isolated dark notes, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's a nice composition of value ranges.
You know, there's a color called indigo blue
Mhm.
or violet blue. They're two that are just vibrant. They're so dark you think they're almost black, but they're really blue.
You said
And
violet blue and indigo?
violet blue
I
and indigo
love that
blue.
color.
I just
Yeah.
found
Look
them.
how dark they are.
Yeah, they're
But
beautiful.
but they really do well in shadow.
Yeah.
So I
That's
think you see that dark tree at the top that's sort of
Yep.
the darker. I think I'm going to go back with the indigo on it, afterwards when I get more of it
Mhm.
blocked in and sort of masses of light color. Then I'm going to go in and flavor it with that.
Mhm.
It's so neat to see to see Morisot's style and then integrate it with your style and then see Morisot's and then Stacy's style and then even me, like
Go, Grace.
even me, I'm all knees and elbows, but it's like we all have the same content, but then these little magical worlds that emerge. Awesome.
I don't know what knees and elbows mean, but
Yeah, I know. I can't think of you as knees and elbows, but
right.
All right.
I'm a little clunky. All right, Grace, let's see what you got.
Ready for kindergarten?
Oh, stop.
Yes, that's
Oh
what
my
Look,
goodness.
what
That
kindergarten?
is a lovely.
That is,
I'd like to
Oh,
attend
sure,
that.
Grace.
you can stop right there.
Honestly,
Right, if that's kindergarten.
yeah, but even the rectangle. I mean, yeah, that
Yeah.
the horizontal nature feels more landscapey anyway, and this kind of the Baroque diagonal, climbing up the stock market rising, and then being echoed down here. It's a really the flow is really nice.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
the dominant,
Thank you.
there's a dominant diagonal, there's a dominant vertical, there's the, and
Really?
like the birds are, I feel like the birds in the boat are in better conversation because there's less, there's everything in the kitchen sink in the other one. And here it's very clear, the elements of the picture, and I feel like they're more balanced. Like with her picture, there's a lot of distractions. Like you
Yeah.
eliminated all of the turmoil of the bottom. Like I mean,
Yes.
it's still, yours gives it the structural base, but it doesn't feel like hers. It feels like she's trying to like fill in the rectangle. You know what I mean? Like she has content, but like she put it all up too high. So she's like, okay, well, I have to fill in the bottom. Where yours doesn't feel like it's forced in any direction.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
what really
Oh,
helps
thank you.
me with Grace's is that your oar is directly toward the geese. And that helps
Oh, yeah.
me,
Yeah.
directionally.
But
Okay.
also then she has these radiating lines in the water, which look really nice.
Totally.
Mhm.
Totally. That one, that specifically that one major one that is almost, it's like a reflective path. In the same way there's a path that leads from goose to geese. Yeah, that reflection, brings you from the tree up to the woman. Yeah, it really is an improvement.
I would like to do kindergarten on a consistent basis. Yeah.
And the distilling the elements and rearranging them into a more a more balanced composition, I think should have been like almost the goal of it, and you really nailed it. Awesome.
Nice.
Send us a picture of it.
Yeah, please.
Trevor, I have to run for a few minutes. Thank you so very much.
Yeah,
As
you're
well.
welcome.
Ladies, great to
I'm
see
glad-
you.
Oh,
Good
you
to
got
see
you
you.
can go. Yeah, I don't think we need to revisit this next week, but I will probably work on it.
Yeah, I'd like to work on mine. Thank you for the lesson on getting those white geese in, because for when I looked at it, I thought, how in the world are we getting those white figures on a white piece of paper
Yeah.
to read? And I think that was super valuable, the way you worked on the geese with us.
Good.
I really feel like my geese are geese, and even though I have so little color on my picture yet,
Right.
I really feel that my geese are there. So thank you.
Yeah.
I was
You're
surprised
welcome.
to see them emerge. Thank you. See you
You're
next
welcome.
week.
All right,
Okay.
see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.